Hey everybody, John Brown with you here again, and well, I just got back from my weekly game night, and I probably should be going to bed, but there was a lot of interest in my Race for the Galaxy video where I did a setup in a first round yesterday, and I was going to wait till tomorrow to do another video and continue showing gameplay. So instead of that, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do a video and show you all the stuff that I didn't show you, what all the other phases do. I'm going to try to say the actual right word this time, and developments, it's not technologies, but to show you what the other phases do, some of the other development stuff, how that works, just to give you basically the rest of the game, because there's some interesting things I didn't show you in that first round. Alright, in the last video, we went over how to explore, how to develop, and how to settle. So Explorer will let you get 2 money, or discard a number of tiles, then draw one more than you discarded. So develop, you know, you're putting the developed dice out there. You could, for example, if I already had 2 on here and a bunch more developed dice, when develop triggers, I could develop this one and the rest of the dice would go onto that one. If I ever discard one of the tiles and then get a different one underneath, then this will stay out there. But it is important to know that if I don't have anything under there and dice left, they will go back into my cup. The settle works the same way, except that you're using, you know, settle dice to do that, so you're using settlers to put out there. Well, so now we're going to talk about the produce and ship actions, because this is a very important part of the game, and quite different than Race for the Galaxy. If you've played that, you know that when you get to basically do things with the goods that you've put onto planets, it actually, in Race, happens before you get to produce things. So you have to plan ahead. You have to produce things in one turn and then do things with them in a later turn. Whereas in this game, if players pick both of these actions, then you could potentially put stuff onto planets and then do something with those goods in the same turn. If, you know, you're lucky enough that you have dice in both of these areas and someone picked the one that you didn't. So let's say this is what we rolled though, and I just am using this as an example to kind of show you again what you can do with your dice. So if we just put these where they go, it would look like this, and then this symbol here, this is a wild. So the white dice, the home dice that you start with, don't have any of these, but some of the other dice have them on one or more sides depending on the die face. So again, all the different colored dice kind of specialize in certain things. They'll have certain actions they don't have, certain actions they'll have more of, and then certain sides that are wild. Well, let's see here. If this is what I had out in my tableau, I had 3 planets, and I didn't actually put a starting homeworld out there, but I just want to set this up as an example, and then that one other technology. So, and then I had a planet that I can't produce anything on. So remember, grays can't produce anything, so you can't put a good on there. But planets can have a good of any color. They don't have to match when you produce and put a good out there, but it can be beneficial, and we'll get to how that works here in a second. But this is what I have, so I have 2 more planets that I could potentially put something on. So if this is what I rolled, I could say, well, I really would like to produce 2 more things. So maybe I'm going to choose a produce action because I really want to do that, because if I don't produce, I only have 1 thing I can ship. So remember, the die you choose an actual phase with, I'm going to try to call it the right name. I kept calling them actions and technologies instead of phases and developments last time. But anyways, hopefully you'll forgive me for that. So I can do that and say, you know what, I'm going to use that as my phase selection, and then I'm going to use my dictate ability. So remember, I have this ability where I can use a die and put it here, and then choose 1 die to put it wherever I want. So even though this isn't a produce, I'm going to put it there. And then I'm going to really hope, let's say I look out at other players' tableaus and I see there's 1 or more players that have a bunch of goods that are ready to ship. So I'm thinking somebody's going to pick the shipping action, so then I'm going to put a die there. When I reveal, and everyone reveals simultaneously, this will automatically go back in my cup, not my bag, excuse me, and then we'll see what happens. And then for this example, we'll say that we were lucky and we chose wisely and someone did actually choose the shipping action. So all these other phases would pass on with nothing happening unless we had an ability. So we might have a development that lets us do something, and we'll go over what some of the developments do. So for example, let's look at this one here. So this one says, this basically says, if the Explore phase is picked, then I'm basically going to act like I have a white die in there. And then it also has in text, you know, here. And the nice thing about this is, even if I didn't put any dice in my Explore phase, if I have this technology out in my tableau, then I will get to trigger it no matter what. So some of the technologies, you got to watch out for that. But so this is my setup, and then these produce dice, I'm going to put them out on a planet. So if I go over to my tableau here, I decide that, you know what, I'm going to put this brown good over here, and then this white good over here. And now, when the shipping phase happens, because someone did select it, then I have some interesting choices. So I basically now, with these two, have two ships that I can send stuff back with. And the way this works is, much like in the Explore phase, I have two different options. And here I can either trade goods to get money, or I can consume goods to get points. Now, if I want to consume goods, so let's say I'm going to use this ship to, or if I want to trade goods, excuse me, what matters is the color of the planet. So here, I have a white die, or a home die, but it's on a green planet. So if I decide to ship this back and use it as a shipping action, I'll take them both and put them in my citizenry. And then the player board, and it has, in a couple of different ways, it laid out what you'll get. So it says it right here, what the different monetary values you'll get, and then it also has it up here too. So whenever I trade, and this is a key thing, I will get the value of the planets I took from. So the green planets give me the second most, they give me 5 credits. So when I do that, I will go from 1 money up to 6. And that's a key thing. It's the planet that it's on. And I kind of thematically look at that as like, even if I have a novelty good, if it's from an alien world, then, you know, it's more interesting than just a regular novelty good. I don't know. But it's, again, the color of the planet, not the color of the good that's important. You might have some technologies that the color of the good matters or things like that. But in general, we're looking at the color of the planet when we trade. Now, when we consume, so let's say I'm going to use this ship to bring something back. Now, the color of the planet still matters, but what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to potentially match things to the color of the planet. So when we're consuming, we actually want to, match as many colors as we can. So let's take this one back here and let's do this. If I were to take this white die back with a consume action, same thing is going to happen. I'm going to take the die back and the ship that I used back into my citizenry, and I'm going to get 1 point automatically. Every time I do that, I'm going to get at least 1 point. So I'll take one of those point chits and I'll put it in front of me. However, if I instead was able to use this ship and bring this one back, I'm going to get 2 points because this planetary color matches the good I brought back. So if I can match the planet and the good, that's an additional point. So instead of getting 1 point, I'll get 2 points. Now, you can potentially get 3 points if the ship you use matches the planet. So, if all 3 of these match, the planet, the ship, and the good, I'll actually get 3 points for matching all 3 of them. Now, if this was a different color good, let's say it's a green good, and I'm still matching at least one thing, I'm matching the ship to the planet, it's worth 2. So, if I match one other thing, I'll basically get 1 point standard. If I match a ship to the planet, I'll get an extra point. If I match a good to the planet, I'll get an extra point. So it's 1 to 3 points every time I ship. And again, it could be even more than that based on some of the technologies that I have. 2 other things to bear in mind. I have this technology out in this example that says +1 every time that I consume a good during the consume phase. So if I were to consume this good, I would also get 1 credit in addition to any points that I would get for consuming it. And then if I consume multiple times, I'd get multiple credits. One more thing to note, that there are these purple dice here. And if we get these and we start using them, they have an ability that when they are used to consume something, they can be considered any color. And the nice thing about these is it doesn't matter if there was a yellow good on the planet and then I sent this ship to consume, or there was a purple good and then I sent this ship to consume. Either way, whenever a purple die is used in consumption as the ship, the action we took during that phase, or as the good that's already on the planet, it is considered all colors and always match. Okay, now the planets, they mostly going to give you dice either on the planet, in the cup, or in your citizenry, but I thought it might be interesting to look at a few of the technologies. So there's a lot of technologies that have to do with reassigning dice. So you already have that dictate ability at the beginning of the game, but there are dice or there are not technologies, developments that let you do things like whatever action I choose for the round, I can move up to 2 home dice. There are a lot of different abilities that let you reassign dice. So as the game goes on, you have more and more ability to move dice to the things you want. There are things that just give you bonuses, like for example making settling quicker and easier to do. +1 for each good that you trade. Okay, that's cool. So whenever you trade, you get bonuses. But there are also tiles that when you don't have to actually do anything. If they're shipping, you get a victory point, even if you didn't choose it, even if you have no dice in there. So there are things like this you got to remember that you have to remember that trigger just because a phase is triggered. There are also a few, I think there's only 3 in the game, technologies that trigger immediately. So instead of giving you an ability for the rest of the game, something happens. So this one, you remove any die that you want, that you have, you get $1, and then put a military die in your cup. And then here's some more bonus ones. This one gives you 6 points, and then you get more points based on developments that don't have a reassign power. So I showed you, a lot of these developments have reassign powers, and then a lot of them don't. This one will give you points for your total development. So as many points as you have basically in your diamonds there. And then an interesting thing to note too is that these are rounded up. And then again, all these give you special abilities too. So that's a kind of look at the types of technology. There's a bunch of technologies in the game, but basically reassigning, giving you discounts, giving you bonuses when you do certain things, or just bonuses when the actions are selected. And then a few of the instant ones are kind of the main types that are in the game. So what do I think about it? Now, I'm not doing a full review. This is just kind of a first impressions. I haven't played it enough to really feel like I can review it. But I'll let you know, I played a 5-player game of it tonight with people who hadn't played Race, people like me that played it a few times. I played a lot on Board Game Arena, and people that have played Race a lot. All 5 players said, I can't wait to play this again. It went really well. You have to find ways to mitigate that dice. Some people may not like having to deal with rolling the dice, but there are certainly ways that you can deal with it. Getting money is a big deal. It is kind of a bummer if you're only getting one die to roll. So but at the same time, you might feel like, well, I put myself in this position. So you have to plan ahead for that. One negative thing, it's got a high barrier for entry. The rulebook is really pretty thin. It's not a lot of pages to it, but there's a lot of stuff in this game. And if you haven't played Race before, and even if you have, understanding that, okay, when I put the die here, this is wild to choose what I activate, but then I got to remember, there's a lot of technologies I might have to remember. At the same time, once you kind of get it, it's actually not that bad. And one very positive thing about this game is the text is on the tiles. So yes, there's a lot of icons, but the the tiles tell you what to do. And once you kind of get the basics, that player screen that looks like a mess, when you know where to look, and it actually says in plain English what stuff does. So you might have a few questions or whatever here and there, but you can read it instead of having to figure out the iconography. So they streamline some things, like there isn't military planets or the halo planets or the filled-in planets or whatever. Just you settle planets, you develop things. That is much simpler. You can produce and then trade in the same turn, which is interesting, but if you're relying on other people to do it. And for some people who haven't played Race at all, some people might feel this is kind of multiplayer solitaire. You can't really interact or fight, whichever, sometimes those words are used interchangeably with other players. But you are watching what they're doing because you're watching to see, is someone going to end the game, or did they have close to 12 things in their tableau, or the point's almost gone, and what actions do I think they're going to do? So a lot of the interaction comes into watching what other players are doing and hoping they're going to do certain things and kind of trying to plan around that, and also trying to figure out how quickly you think the game is going to end. So overall, my first impressions are very positive for this. Everybody who played it in my group seemed to like it. I liked it quite a bit. And like I said, I played Race a lot, particularly on Board Game Arena, and I enjoyed it. And there may be some things that change about this that you don't like. Maybe you don't like having to use the dice. You like knowing the deck and being able to dig into it. So I could see some Race fans really liking this. I could see some Race fans not really liking it. But if you haven't played either, I would actually recommend this. Not because I think the game is much simpler, but because all that text is there, and the things that were really confusing in Race are the things that were streamlined in here. How the planets work and all that. It really ends up, once you kind of get past that initial barrier, it's not that difficult. It's just kind of a hurdle to get there. So overall, so far, really enjoy this game. I do not currently own Race, but I am happy about having this. But that may be personal preference. And as a side note, shaking up those dice and all that, there's also just kind of a cool feel to it that, a card game doesn't have that I personally like that may not matter to you. So there's my first impressions and kind of the rest of how the game works. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you guys again soon. Alright, bye!